Hello my lovelies, it's your girl Ria and welcome back to my channel, and this is my deep dive into the beloved characters of Final Fantasy VII's compilation. Previously on the traumatic origins of Cloud Strife, we learned that Cloud was the village outcast who just wanted the girl next door to notice him. To reach his goal, and oblivious to the fact that Tifa was already falling in love with him, he enlisted with ShinRa. His goal? To join Soldier. Unfortunately, Cloud, Tifa, and the village of Nibelheim were made victims of Sephiroth's madness. The village was razed to the ground. His mother was murdered before his very eyes. Her last words a plea for him to
run, Cloud. Run away. You have to leave. You have to live.
Her remains turned to ash in his familial home. In his grief and rage, Cloud chased after Sephiroth to the Reactor on Mount Nibel, only to find Brian already cold. His best friend Zack was defeated. Tifa, the girl he did it all for, cut down by Sephiroth and was bleeding out, dying. It was too much. Sephiroth took everything from him. He had nothing left. Cloud puts all his grief into vengeance and attacks Sephiroth by stabbing him in the back. His heart grieves, wishing that everyone who was lost would be returned to him.
Return my mother, Tifa, and my village!
After Cloud believes Sephiroth has been killed, he throws off his helmet and runs to Tifa's side.
Tifa!
It's at this point that we see Cloud prioritize being with Tifa. Adrenaline is still coursing through his veins, so he's still able to move by this point. Yet, instead of running away, he chose to be with her. In his own words, he thinks she's dying.
That night, 5 years ago, at the reactor, I saw you lying there. Saw your wound and all the blood. I figured it was too late.
Yet, being with her in what he believed were her last moments was more important than saving himself. Other than his own life, what does he have to lose? It's easy to speculate that Cloud is only hanging on for Tifa's sake, given the events that occur after the fact.
How dare you?
Cloud! Finish Sephiroth off! Sephiroth!
Test me! No. Impossible.
Cloud. You did it.
The set events end with Hojo and his experiments. Cloud and Zack were then wheeled away on a stretcher. As far as Cloud knew, Tifa was left to die alone in the reactor. For the next 4 years, they were subject to Hojo's sadism. In that time, Cloud just shuts down. The Mako injected into his veins is drawn and concentrated directly from the life stream. Within it can be found the souls of those long past, their memories, their emotions, their identities. For those who are mentally weak or have a low sense of self, all of these experiences can overwhelm the average person. For Cloud, who believed he lost everything, the Mako easily soaked into his psyche due to his weakened state, dulling his mind and leaving him catatonic. In the year that followed, Zack became his nurse, his protector, his advocate, his everything. Zack protected him while living a life on the run from ShinRa. Yet even though the company was everywhere, Zack wanted to be with Aerith, who lived in Midgar. As they traveled, Zack talked. He shared stories of his life and adventures. It can be speculated that Zack was just trying to fill the silence, giving himself someone to talk to since Cloud wasn't really there. He was mostly nonverbal, unable to move independently and care for himself. Zack took care of all of Cloud's needs. He bathed him, fed him, helped him relieve himself, kept him clean and physically healthy. Zack was his 24-hour full-care nurse without respite care in sight for most of their time on the run, only leaving Cloud's side long enough to deal with combat situations too dangerous for the defenseless Cloud to be in. All this to say that for the sake of his own sanity, and to not let despair weaken his own resolve, Zack spoke of his dreams, ambitions, and adventures from a time when things made sense. These stories would later become a cornerstone to Cloud's fantasy self. We'll dive deeper into Zack's perspective during his deep dive closer to the end of the series. Just know that this man has never abandoned Cloud, even though it would have been in his best interest. He was the hero Cloud aspired to be, and needed. This is also why we don't accept Zack's slander in Ria's grotto. We can still make macabre jokes, though. What can I say? It's one of those, if you don't laugh, you'll cry kind of things. Now, how this regards to Cloud is that for the year he was in Zack's care, this was his world. My.clevelandclinic.org defines catatonia as a disorder that disrupts a person's awareness of the world around them. People with this condition sometimes react very little or not at all to their surroundings, or might behave in ways that are unusual, unexpected, or unsafe to themselves or others. When describing her experience in a catatonic state, JoEllen Smith paints a terrifying picture. I woke up feeling like I was lying in a hospital bed, but I could not open my eyes to confirm. I wanted to see where I was and sit up, but I was also paralyzed. My arms felt like rubber when I attempted to move them. My eyes felt glued shut. My legs refused my orders to move. I was terrified. I could hear the familiar voices inside my head panicking. If I was in a hospital, I could call out for a nurse, but my mouth would not open. To make matters worse, a horror film was playing on a huge screen in my mind. The film played scenes, sights, odors, and screams of my own childhood tortures. Since I could not make my body move, I attempted to force my brain into reality and away from the internal agonizing terror. Okay, I thought above the internal noise. I forced myself to remember facts. I am a 42-year-old female. I am in a hospital, specifically a psychiatric ward. My experience with a catatonic-like state by JoEllen Smith. You can read this retelling of her experience on nami.org. I have it linked in the pinned comment below. While it's not stated explicitly, these statements can be applied to Cloud in his catatonic state. He can easily be described as frozen in time, with only Zack's presence keeping him safe and giving his mind something to cling to that isn't the horrors of his own life. Then, miles away from Midgar, Cloud's last tether to his humanity was gunned down. It all became too much. The trauma of Nibelheim, the deaths of his mother and Zack, losing Tifa. What was left of Cloud's mind shattered. Cloud is now hollow. Without Zack's voice, nothing was blocking out Jenova's siren's call. Cloud is now a puppet on the strings connected to her fingers. Jenova, the alien entity whose cells were injected deep into the veins of each and every soldier. The very same cells that tainted the Mako pumped into Cloud's veins in unprecedented levels as part of Hojo's experimentation. Jenova, the being that slithered into Sephiroth's mind and gave him the final push into madness, orchestrating the massacre in Nibelheim. Jenova, who was transported from Nibelheim's reactor and moved to Shinra's HQ atop Midgar. The closer Cloud, or any soldier suffering from cellular degradation, gets to Jenova, the harder it is to resist her thrall. Step by step, Cloud is lured deeper into Midgar, dragging his inherited legacy behind him. But all is not lost for our budding hero. The deeper he goes into the slums, a new voice calls to him, one he thought was lost to him forever. It's Tifa that calls out to him in the slums, awakening Cloud from his catatonia and bringing Cloud Strife back to life. It's also here where Cloud's compass becomes one of two norths. At one end, you have Jenova raking her claws over Cloud's mind and stitching together whatever she could to keep him moving in her direction. At the other end is Tifa, ripping and yanking at Jenova's control in her bid to keep Cloud by her side. Jenova makes what will later prove to be a fatal mistake. Jenova slithers behind the wall Cloud erected to keep his trauma locked away, splicing together what she could from Cloud and Tifa's shared memories, as well as the stories Zack told him during his time on the run. This much was easy since Cloud's mind was Swiss cheese. Cloud's subconscious didn't put up much of a fight. The image of Zack was impressed upon him and molded into the armor and shield Cloud wore to protect himself from the reality of those losses and failures. Removing Tifa was not as easy, though Jenova should have, and probably did try harder to separate the two. While editing this script, a thought came to me on this that I want to put out into the universe at a later date. Just gotta make sure it's my theory and not me being a shipper first. Just as Cloud couldn't allow Zack's sword to be taken away from him in his catatonic state, the memories of Tifa he so cherished couldn't be erased. At best, the idealized version of those memories could be interwoven into their shared history. As revealed in Final Fantasy VII's gacha game, Ever Crisis, we see that when Cloud mixes up the timeline, Tifa attempts to set him straight. However, Jenova just Control-Alt-deletes it away because Cloud cannot accept the truth of the events. Please note that as of this point, we are treating at least the character chapters and the first soldier sections of the game as canon to the compilation. However, just like with Before Crisis, this may change in later releases. Cloud's subconscious clings to this reality where Cloud was a soldier first class. He had returned to Nibelheim triumphant in his endeavors, and the villagers were all happy and proud to see him. His strength and prowess maybe even impressed Tifa. This is the reality he wants to live in, and like a pusher with an addict, Jenova gives him that, giving just enough to keep her claws hooked into him. Still, Tifa yanks the needle of Cloud's compass in her direction. In no time, this leads to Cloud agreeing to join the reactor bombing mission that leads us into the beginning of Final Fantasy VII. Even with Jenova trying to redirect him in her direction, Cloud agrees to the mission for 2,000 gil, which not a lot of money. As Cloud puts it, it's a discount sentence for her. So, essentially, Cloud risks treason and capital punishment for the equivalent of a 6-pack of high potions, half a dozen Phoenix Downs, an ether, 2 remedies, 2 curl greens, a nice dinner. That 2,000 gil is essentially a grocery run. In addition to that, the 2,000 gil is real Cloud pressing forward against the wall, carrying with him a memory from his mother. Page 7 of 2,000 gil to become a hero reads, "Your father used to say," she explained with a softened voice, "that with 2,000 gil, you can go to most places and overcome most difficulties." She briefly thought about how Cloud's father saying those words to her was the reason why they would sometimes save 2,000 gil and then she would secretly spend it afterwards. It's true that your dad has been gone for a long time, and yet it seems like since then the time has gone by so fast. For a moment, her face grimaced. "So take this with you. It's all I can do." 2,000 gil to become a hero by Nojima Kazushige. As the ingredients that make up Cloud's new persona settle into place, Cloud is introduced to Barret and the rest of his Avalanche cell, which includes my husband Biggs, my teddy bear Wedge, and Jessie. The paranoid reject them before they reject you, not interested personality trait makes its return, prompting Cloud to keep these people at arm's length. Try as they might, he's not keen on letting them in, which sets him off on the wrong foot. According to Nojima Kazushige, for this time, Nojima has gone much deeper into the inner psychology of Cloud, the main character. In the original, Nojima depicted him as a cool and stylish character. However, this time, he can miss the mark and be a little cringeworthy at times. His cool facade can often slip. Because he wants people to accept him and respect him, he puts on a front. So when he doesn't know something, he just goes, not interested. Nojima wrote him in a way that makes you think that not interested might not be a cool thing to say, but can sometimes be a bit lame. Barret is especially suspicious of him, butting heads with Cloud to test him, his loyalty to the cause, his loyalty to Tifa, and whether or not he's a good fit for the Avalanche crew. Barret's priority is keeping his loved ones safe, and even though Cloud has Tifa vouching for him, he's virtually a stranger. Strangers with an affiliation to ShinRa are a no-go for him. His suspicion of everything ShinRa is well-founded, even if he sometimes misses the mark. Still, this new version of Cloud manages to prove himself to Avalanche in the midst of all the devastation they think they've wrought. They don't see that Cloud is a barely functioning human. His trauma follows him like a shadow, taking Sephiroth's name and face. Always looming over the crumbling wall protecting Cloud's psyche from the past, Sephiroth is as much an allegory for his PTSD from the Nibelheim incident as he is a specter chasing him into Jenova's embrace. The dark whispers that have been infected by Sephiroth and Jenova's will later manipulate both Aerith and Cloud to facilitate a sort of false meeting. While brief, this was the next step in a long line leading into Jenova and Sephiroth's plan. Aerith's presence enables Cloud to see these specters, but by this point, no one really knows what they are, only that they're keen on pushing Cloud onto Aerith and keeping him there. Why? I have my theories. Are my theories right? Let me cook a little longer. Add some sazon de Goya, some adobo. Let me cook. The new personality isn't foolproof, though. The illusionary world Jenova crafted for him is easily threatened when he's recognized by the ShinRa grunts, which Jenova has to work double time to write out the memories that threaten the fantasy. His reunion with Tifa is decidedly sweeter in spite of everything. Having received the flower from Aerith previously, and with her words of these lilies being common gifts for reuniting lovers, Cloud is more than happy to give the gift to Tifa, hoping to charm her with his newfound confidence.
Where'd you get that? I can't remember the last time I saw a real one. Huh? How sweet. When did you get so thoughtful?
Guy can change. Has been 5 years.
Huh?
Maybe not so sweet. Tifa is again faced with Cloud's recollection of events, his 5 years to her 7 years since they last spoke with one another. Since she's already corrected him once, it's a reminder that something's not quite right with Cloud. There's not much that she can do since she was essentially made the bearer of bad news by Avalanche, given her shared history with Cloud. This balancing act of worrying over what's wrong with Cloud versus everything going to hell is something that plagues their relationship throughout the compilation. Even though he's essentially shortchanged by Avalanche, Cloud agrees to work with Tifa through the Sector 7 slums to make up the remaining 1,500 out of the 2,000 gil invoice, essentially working for free to keep her from having to do all of the labor. As they work, Sector 7 is made to feel genuinely welcoming. Though the community is a rustic shantytown, it felt like home, a cozy place you could come back to, as stated by Toriyama Motomu in the article Digging Deep into the World of Final Fantasy VII Remake Special Interview Part 1. With the help of Tifa, Cloud learns how to make a life for himself. She got him an apartment, invites him on dates he actually wants to be on.
So, after you left the village, I let you off the hook before, back at the hall, but not this time.
Well, when we were kids, everybody wanted to be a soldier, right?
Yeah, I remember they were on the news every day during the war.
Thing is, by the time I finally made it in, they didn't need heroes anymore. It was nothing like what we dreamt of. It was just working for ShinRa. Just...
I'm sorry. I know it's a touchy subject.
Not exactly small talk. Especially with someone you haven't seen in a while.
I get it. Still, it's kind of funny. Us going our separate ways, thinking that must be it. That we'd never meet again. And then here, of all places, we do. You know what? We should totally celebrate. Let's dress up and hit the town.
Really?
I mean, why not? It'll be fun.
Do you even have fancy clothes?
Not like fancy, but I'll figure something out. What do you think would suit me, huh?
Something refined.
Yeah, I guess we're not kids anymore. Be sure to pick an outfit that goes with mine, okay?
Will do.
Connected him with his first jobs after Avalanche, and introduced him to additional connections that could give him even more work. She also acts as the angel on his shoulder before he goes too far. More on this in part 3. Their time together is cut short by the second bombing mission approaching. Barret quickly chases Cloud off, his standoffish behavior not brokering a friendship. Tifa stays behind since it may be their last night together, so she needs to prioritize Avalanche and the mission over spending more time with Cloud. There are those that view this as Tifa excluding Cloud from the gathering and using it as a gotcha to say that she was contributing to him being ostracized, when this is far from reality. Cloud was, and still is, an asshole. By this point, he wasn't the nicest person and treated Avalanche as if they were beneath him. His bid to be the cool and stoic soldier didn't quite stick, and he sailed way beyond the mark into prick territory. Unlike with the kids back in Nibelheim, whom Cloud regularly got into fights with, Jesse, Biggs, and Wedge didn't deserve how Cloud treated them. As for Barret, he's just matching Cloud's energy, while already being suspicious of him due to the aforementioned former ShinRa affiliation. So while it can be assumed by their behavior that they saw a lost boy, Barret saw an asshole trying to bully his comrades. So why should he be included with the group when he was so adamant he wasn't a part of them? More importantly, why would Tifa, who already spent an entire day with him, continue to center Cloud when she has obligations to other people? Regardless of who was mean to who, it's actually cruel to force others to be around people who don't like them without a justifiable reason. In that moment, Barret didn't like Cloud, and the feeling was mutual. But Tifa needed to be with them, and Cloud understood. Cloud's behavior with Avalanche is arguably when he's the most distant and rude. He actively throws up barriers with every interaction. But unlike with the kids back home, Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse aren't scared off. In the case of Biggs and Wedge, they genuinely want to be Cloud's friend. In the case of Jesse...
So, you know Tifa, right? It's not really my business, but are you guys close?
She actively wants to see his,
big sword.
Going as far as to disparage her friend Tifa with Cloud. Wedge says she's just playing with him, but, I doubt the validity of that statement. What can I say? Cloud has some crazy ass Mako enhanced pheromones that are like catnip to anyone attracted to
Big sword.
The Avalanche crew managed to wear Cloud's prickly exterior down, weakening him against others who want the pleasure of his quick wit, sarcasm, and charm. I don't think fans of the franchise give our bronze trio of Avalanche enough credit, often attributing the effort they've put into warming his heart to others in the party. Cloud already had a built-in friend with Tifa. Barret is Barret. Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse have no reason to want to be Cloud's friend. The thought of chasing Cloud off doesn't seem to occur to them like it did Barret, nor do they really gain anything by having him. Technically, he's just a contractor on the payroll. While having his presence does help in the Reactor missions, they would have continued on the mission regardless, and could just as easily have hired somebody else, if anyone at all. Obviously, plot is doing plot things, but they don't know what we know, you know? So while Jesse may want to ride his motorcycle, these are still the first genuine friends he's made since Tifa and Zack. The grunts he, hopefully, befriended in ShinRa were scrubbed from his mind via Jenova as casualties to the fantasy he'd crafted for himself. Avalanche paved the way for Cloud to allow more people than just Tifa in. They're also the catalyst for the improvement of his relationship with Barret, who begrudgingly allows Cloud onto the following Reactor mission.
Okay, so here's the thing.
I'm gonna need a raise.
Consider it done. All right, everyone, Cloud's in. The mission is on.
Huh? Look!
Soldier.
Think you forgetting someone? What is Mako? The life stream. Damn, trying to put this on us. If anyone's going along with your plans, it's cause you brainwashed them.
I'm sick of this. I'm sick of all of this.
It's just like when I failed you.
We don't have long to get clear.
Take Tifa and get out of here.
I was wrong about you.
This ain't the end of the line for you or me.
Cloud!
Come on!
New collection. Alrighty, so who are we picking up today? Cloud Strife. Cloud Strife. Why does that name sound so familiar? Oh, that fallen kid from Nibelheim! Oh, blast from the past. Cause of death. Fell 350 meters. Eesh. Guess he didn't learn about gravity. So you're going to Valhalla. Alright, let's go. Sephiroth! Okay. Alright, pretty boy. Time. Wait a second. That can't be right. He's still alive. Hang on one second. Thank you for calling Death Inc.'s customer service line. We are currently experiencing higher than normal wait times, so please wait on the line and make sure to have your Grim authorization number ready, and we'll connect you to the first available customer service agent. Your expected wait time is
1 eternity later.
Hello, Botan speaking. How can I direct your call?
Oh, yes. Hi, customer service? Yes, this is Ria, Grim authorization number 00137. Yeah, I was sent on a pickup, and he's still alive.
Please hold and I'll transfer you right over.
You'll hold.
Hey, buddy. You okay? Yeah. Made it through with just a couple of scraped knees back then. Back then? What do you say? We doing this? Have we? Never mind about that. Right now, you need to focus on yourself. Move something. Anything. Why not? Good. Easy does it. Slow. And steady. Yeah. Hey, who are you? Who are you?
I am your everything.
Hello in there.
Cloud somehow manages to cheat death again and is reunited with the flower peddler, Aerith, who almost immediately takes to Cloud, reminding him of their first meeting where she gave him the reunion flower. He then learns of the useless materia she keeps in her hair. Cloud then has another attack where Jenova gives Cloud a glimpse of the future, focusing on the materia. It can be argued that this is Jenova's influence to coax him into staying with her. Sephiroth and Jenova manipulate the Dark Specters into keeping them together and moving along a set course towards their ultimate goal. As the game progresses into Rebirth, a clear pattern emerges where Aerith is pushed or cajoled towards Cloud, be it the Whispers, a pigeon, or a Zack sword. Cloud's super magical pheromones aren't much help in this situation either. In the Final Fantasy VII Remake Ultimania, it's stated by Tetsuya Nomura that when talking to Aerith, he overextends himself and tries to act cool, while with Tifa, he shows his true colors a little more. And with Jessie, he seems kind of at a loss for what to say. Particularly when we had him speaking to Aerith, we had him be overly self-conscious and awkward with his responses. Najima follows this statement by saying, Cloud just can't really keep the right distance from Aerith. He tends to get frazzled when he interacts with Jessie too, which she has fun teasing him about. Like with Jessie, Cloud doesn't really know how to handle Aerith, who seems to flirt with him easily. Cloud isn't really used to attention like this. From what we can tell, Tifa was the only girl in his age group back in Nibelheim. While he was enlisted with ShinRa, there probably weren't a lot of girls going out of their way to flirt with him either, especially with Zack, Sephiroth, Genesis, and Angeal around to make all the girls' gays and theys go yay. That's not to say Cloud is a complete idiot when it comes to girls, as seen by how suave he is when calling Tifa beautiful.
Beautiful.
I gotta go.
But he's not as fluent as he should be at 21, as seen by his reactions to both Aerith and Jessie, who are decidedly more forward with their desire for Cloud's
big sword.
Cloud gets roped into playing the role of Aerith's bodyguard. Unlike with Tifa, who is respectful of Cloud's boundaries, Aerith has a tendency to not take no for an answer, often steamrolling over Cloud's objections until he eventually starts giving in for better or for worse. This isn't to say that Aerith is intentionally being malicious or abusive towards Cloud. While I have my own opinions, assigning malicious intent to Aerith would be a disservice to the franchise and the intentions of the creators when writing her character. Aerith is just a lonely girl who lost the love of her life, only to have a replacement from Timu mail-ordered to her door. Grief has a way of making people behave in ways that can be harmful to themselves or others. The reason I say that this kind of behavior is harmful is because she ignores Cloud saying no over and over again so she can live out her own fantasy. In this, both Cloud and Aerith are very similar. Rather than face the grief, they throw themselves into these delusions in order to make it to tomorrow. Sometimes, that's all you can do. Make it to tomorrow, because tomorrow may be a better day. The want to relive her time with Zack versus the want to get to know Cloud as his own person both inform the relationship between Aerith and Cloud. From the outside looking in, it's kinda cringe and worrisome, but Aerith and Cloud are 22 and 21 respectively. They're still kids learning to adult as far as I'm concerned. Setting boundaries, enforcing them, and respecting them isn't as easy as people would like to think. Aerith is genuinely a good person who tries to look to the bright side of everything. She just gets carried away sometimes. One of the few times where Aerith's steamrolling is a point in the positive column is when the pair find Tifa being carted off towards Don Corneo. While in shipping discussions this is another point of contention, this serves as an example that Cloud is still naive about the world. Mentally, he's still 16 years old. While he's growing fast and evolving as a person to catch up to his age, he was still catatonic from 16 to 21. Jenova can only fill in so many blanks. The concept of SA is not going to be at the forefront of his mind. He has faith in Tifa's abilities to take care of herself, whereas Aerith impresses on him the dangers of being a woman in places like Wallmarket or, let's be real, anywhere. Aerith puts it beautifully when she says,
Oh, no you don't. You're going after her.
She's a big girl. She can handle the likes of him. And worse.
You don't know Corneo. It doesn't matter how strong or smart you think you are. He'll find a way to turn it against you. And where is she going to meet him? A mansion filled with his goons. Come on, aren't you worried what might happen in there? You have to help her.
At Aerith's suggestion and dangling Tifa's well-being in front of his face like a golden carrot, Cloud is convinced to do quite a bit for Tifa's sake, even cross-dressing in order to infiltrate Don Corneo's bride auditions. Jenova is working overtime for this one. I should probably say thank you, but she's trying to end the world, so that puts a damper on my appreciation of her efforts. Cloud will experience some of the horrors being a girl entails, which includes attempts at sexual coercion, which is assault, and photos taken without his consent. The repercussions of this moment won't be felt until after the game concludes in the novels, but Cloud won't be ignorant to the ever-looming threat of SA women face ever again. I hope. Now for the elephant in the room. The so-called love triangle forming between Cloud, Tifa, and Aerith. I'm not going to talk about it anymore here. I already have a Clody video separate from this series planned for later, and a two-parter planned for the end of the series where we discuss all the relationships, both platonic and romantic. This video is already super long, and my bias is already evident as is. I will do my best to be fair in the future, but not today. In light of everything going on, no one really has the time for romance. There's an invisible timer until Platefall, and the race to the Sector 7 support pillar takes precedence over Aerith's flirting, Tifa's near-crippling fear of ghosts, and Cloud being Cloud. When they finally make it through what is arguably a level out to get me, I scare easy, our trio finally makes it to the Sector 7 slums in time to watch as the militia is in open warfare against ShinRa. A false narrative straight from the American playbook is being used to pander to the masses, naming the group of rebels as terrorists. Did Avalanche do a bad thing? Yes. Did they do the bad thing they're being blamed for? No. Even if they did, does this justify the mass unaliving of tens of thousands of people? Also no. But there's an agenda that needs to be pushed, and Avalanche gives ShinRa an excuse to push war and assure their continued power as the jackboot that bullies the rest of the world into submission. The person that Twitter has dubbed Soldier Cloud takes the forefront. but is informed by the person Cloud already is. Like before, when faced with death in Before Crisis, Cloud is faced with the deaths of Sector 7's militia, as well as the loss of Biggs and Jessie. With Biggs, we see a bit more of an emotional response, given their closeness. Biggs was able to relate and read Cloud in a way that the others didn't. He saw the little lost boy inside of Cloud, which reminded him of the orphans he grew up with, and later taught in the Leaf House. By the time he reaches Jessie, Cloud seems to be numb, at his emotional limit. It takes Tifa's tears for him to react to the loss. That's not to say he didn't care or lacked any emotions at all. Cloud is still extremely traumatized, but Sephiroth will later exploit this to his advantage. This numbness enables Cloud to set aside this newest series of traumas so he can be there for Tifa and Barret, who are barely hanging on in the aftermath of the platefall, giving hope where he can to the grieving father and guiding Tifa to safety, who's in shock. Once they find Marlene, the Golden Trio, Cloud, Tifa, and Barret, are informed of Aerith's heritage and that she was now ShinRa's hostage. Elmira insists that Aerith will be treated well, as she's always been while she was in her care. Cloud, on the other hand, knew of Hojo's cruelty. Some scars are just too deep to heal over like nothing. Jenova is unable to rewrite the trauma, even if Cloud doesn't want to acknowledge it fully. While they want to respect Elmira's wishes, hoping she's right, there's no denying that the hospitality Aerith is used to has run out. So here's the dilemma. Respect Elmira's wishes since she is Aerith's mother and would know more about the situation. Or trust that Cloud knows more as an ex-ShinRa employee. Elmira's got years of experience with ShinRa treating Aerith well. As the last ancient, they can't afford to mistreat her, so on paper, she is technically correct. That being said, Cloud knows on a cellular level that once Hojo is involved, all bets are off. Humane and ethical are just words that don't exist in the scientist's lexicon. But just as importantly, they don't know what's happening in the aftermath of Sector 7. Which is more important? I would argue that both Aerith's well-being and Sector 7 are important and require urgent attention. But which one first? In the situation that they're in, where both the stove and the curtains are on fire, they choose to address the curtains first. Sector 7 is the curtains in this analogy. Since the stove, Aerith in this scenario, is arguably a little bit more controlled. This statement isn't to diminish Aerith's situation. Her dire need isn't life-threatening, whereas the aftermath of the platefall is still a life-threatening situation. Let me know in the comments below if you'd extinguish the kitchen fire or the burning curtains first. Prioritizing Sector 7 appears to be the correct choice, since they're able to rescue Wedge, who's barely hanging on. This ultimately leads them to a secret underground lab. There, they find the remains of human experiments left abandoned and rotting in their tubes. This is the ShinRa that Cloud knows, even if he can't fully face it. Elmira is also unable to face this truth, in spite of Cloud emphatically presenting the evidence to her. Here we have another instance of Tifa reeling Cloud back in before he pushes too hard against Elmira. While he is absolutely right, if he pushes too hard, then she could rebel against them. Wedge is currently resting upstairs, and Marlene's shelter is in her hands in this moment. Elmira has all the power over them. There's a time to push, and there's a time to let the situation you're in settle down and breathe. Elmira just needs a minute to think, and Cloud is steamrolling over her and pushing until she pops or doubles down. This doesn't mean that Tifa doesn't care about Aerith or that Elmira is an idiot. Cloud just needs to back off and give a woman under duress a minute to think and reconcile what she knows versus what she's experienced. We, the players and the characters, are allowed a moment of respite where we can gather our bearings and reorient ourselves to the new landscape of Midgar. Throughout the majority of Remake, there's a sort of callback to the dating mechanics from the OG Final Fantasy VII. The choices you make throughout the game culminate in one of 3 resolution scenes, meant to showcase the evolution of Cloud's relationship with Barret, Tifa, and Aerith respectively. Technically speaking, all scenes are canon to the compilation, All happen in the span of the same night. However, you can only unlock one scene per playthrough as a mean to incentivize the player to play multiple times and show favor to either member of the party. For the sake of this video, I'll discuss each of these resolution scenes from Cloud's perspective with some insight into the other characters, but we'll delve deeper into these when discussing the other characters' deep dives. This is also why it seems like I'm skipping over important scenes and clips. Just know that those discussions have a greater impact on other characters and will therefore be discussed when it's their time to take center stage. First on the list is Barret. In choosing to forgo a majority of the Chapter 3 and Chapter 8 side missions, while also being nicer to Jessie in the few instances you're able to, the scene you'll get is with Barret. That's not to say that Barret is in any way a penalty. Through the resolution with him, we see how Cloud and Barret's relationship went from being at each other's throats to this friendship where the two can tease and rely on each other. The way to Barret's heart is through his loved ones. Like his daughter Marlene and Avalanche, Cloud is willing to fight for and protect Tifa, Jessie, Biggs, and Wedge. While reminiscing about the other members of their cell, Barret expresses an eagerness to invite Cloud to meet all of them, to which Cloud is more than happy to accept this invitation. Cloud is no longer a man unable to make friends. Through Barret, we see a more open Cloud being accepted into the flock. No ulterior motives, no wanting a chance at Cloud's
big sword.
I couldn't resist, don't judge me. We see genuine friendship. Barret slowly starts to fill the positive male role model void Zack left behind. At 35 years old, Barret is truly one of the adultiest adults Cloud has had a positive experience with within his, albeit shoddy, memory. Yes, I am ignoring the fact that Barret and I are practically the same age. He leads by example, which I feel is something that helps positively shape Cloud as we move forward through the compilation. One such way is how he learns to give comfort to Tifa, like after the plate fell when Barret comforted her. Cloud is impressed how Barret is able to pull off what he could not. Through Tifa's resolution, we finally get to see all of Tifa's suppressed emotions come flooding out, which is a shock to Cloud. Usually so calm and level-headed, the loss of Sector 7, her home, her friends, her business, has all been chipping away at her, and Cloud couldn't do anything to stop it. Cloud is nothing if not dedicated to Tifa's safety and well-being, often shielding her from physical dangers. We've watched him shield her from being exposed to ShinRa, protecting her from soldiers and specters. He broke her fall when jumping out of a speeding train.
You okay?
Yeah.
When it comes to her physical health, he's almost always there to make sure she never falls without someone to catch her again. But he couldn't stop the plate from falling and destroying her home. Cloud couldn't stop Tifa's heart from breaking. This is another failure, yet she still approaches him seeking comfort. It's easy to protect someone in the physical sense, but this is new territory for him, so using what he learned from observing Barret, Cloud attempts to comfort her, holding her tight to his chest. Cloud tries to be the man that Tifa needs, only to get a little carried away. As found in the Final Fantasy VII Remake Ultimania, Nojima himself says, "In the event that Tifa appears in that flower field, I was consciously portraying uncool Cloud. Cloud is nearly the same age as Tifa, but he's missing years, so he lacks in life experience and isn't fully grown up yet. I wanted to especially depict that in a group consisting of 20-year-olds, Cloud was the only person that is, technically, 16 years old, but he's trying to adapt to his surroundings. He saw how Barret consoled Tifa in a very mature way after the collapse of the 7th Sector plate, and tried to imitate him, but it did not go very smoothly, and he came off as awkward or unskilled. As stated on page 120 of the Final Fantasy VII Remake Ultimania Plus, his delight at finally being the admirable man who could comfort Tifa precedes the feelings he has for her. It was like a bittersweet memory of a young, innocent love that Cloud had never known. A contented smile forms at the corners of Cloud's mouth. He doesn't quite know his strength, so he accidentally hurts her with how tightly he holds her. A quick little note here. I'm taking a stance against the AI translations used for the Ultimania Plus, so am using a fan-paid translation done by an actual person. So while the wording is not exactly the same as what the AI says, the feeling is mostly the same. Lastly, we have Aerith's resolution. Unlike with Tifa and Barret, the Aerith that we see in Cloud's dreams doesn't actually seem to be the current iteration of Aerith, but is instead a version of her from the future. The implication is that this version of Aerith is from after the events of Rebirth. This is confirmed on page 121 of the Final Fantasy VII Remake Ultimania Plus in the scenario staff Q&A, when it's stated that what appears before Cloud is Aerith, who is closest to the memories of the future, who has appeared due to some kind of influence on the livestream. Her doublespeak confuses both Cloud and the players, especially those who haven't played the original game or through the conclusion of Rebirth, where her ultimate fate is revealed. A lot of this scene is actually about Aerith, more so than it is about Cloud, so the true deep dive will take place when we go over Aerith's story around December. What relates to Cloud is showing us the closeness he feels with Aerith as a friend. He's able to assure this future version of Aerith that he genuinely does care about her, even if he doesn't quite know in what way yet. I want to reiterate that while Barret and Tifa's resolutions are about Cloud's growth, Aerith's is about her. While she is important to Cloud and his evolution as a character, this scene isn't really about him. The point about her telling Cloud not to fall in love with her and that it's not real is her talking to herself, according to the scenario staff Q&A. Cloud has no idea how to take it, and in this moment, according to the Ultimania, he's confused and isn't too keen on her dictating his emotions. In the morning, Elmira finally accepts that Aerith is in danger and allows Cloud and Co to go rescue Aerith from ShinRa's clutches. Once their path topside is secured, it's a straight shot to ShinRa's HQ. But the closer Cloud gets to Jenova, the deeper under Jenova's thrall he, and anyone else infected with her cells, becomes. Jenova and Sephiroth seep deeper into Cloud's shadow, tormenting him with visions of dead loved ones and the destruction of Midgar. Memories of his past self clash against the construct that is the new version of Cloud Strife. Is the voice calling to him his obligation to Aerith? Or is it Jenova using her as bait to get Cloud closer? Please don't be a named character that I love.
Hey, get your man.
He got away.
I'm going to interrupt right here real quick to let you know that this man, Rufus, is not Cloud's half-brother. Cloud is not an illegitimate ShinRa baby. ShinRa is not his daddy. No. Nobody here is related. Moving on. It seems that almost losing Barret helped snap Cloud out of his stupor. Now that Jenova is no longer present within the building, causing a shift in his demeanor where he prioritizes the safety and well-being of his friends. Barret's death being a fake-out doesn't diminish the reminder of their mortality, and Cloud has lost enough people in his life. Still, he also learns that he can count on his friends to always be there when he falls.
You gotta be better than this, if you're gonna play the hero.
Well, that's it for today, my lovelies. For those who follow me, you saw the announcement that Cloud's Introspective will now be a 3-parter instead of a 2-parter. As such, I'll be moving the predictions and theory crafting to a later video, most likely pushing it closer to the expected release date of the 3rd installment of the Re-Trilogy. Some articles say 2007, others say 2008. Let's hope for 2007, shall we? If you like what I'm doing and would like to support me, please leave a like, a subscribe, and a ding on that notification bell, and follow me on my socials down below. We're in for some rough waters over the next few years, my lovelies, so stay safe. And I hope to see you guys next time. Bye. Mwah. Bye. I did it again. I should stop blowing kisses. Bye. Error. We're Death Inc. We don't do errors. Ugh. Now you hear it. I would like to speak to your manager.